Alright, Cullenites, this is it. We finally reached my analysis of Cullen in the upcoming Dragon Age Inquisition video game. I'm just going to go ahead and kick things off with Cullen's description on the main website. Cullen has seen the worst that magic and corruption can do to innocent people. Trained from a young age, he has devoted more than half his life in service to the Templar Order. He saw the Ferelden Circle fall during the Blight, and was witness to the Mage-Templar conflict that tore Kirkwall apart. In the aftermath, it was Cullen who rallied what remained of Kirkwall's Templars to restore order to the devastated city. His leadership and integrity caught the attention of Cassandra Pentecost, who recognized in him a vital component in forming the Inquisition. Now the world is falling into chaos. Cullen is through waiting for others to act, and he's determined that the Inquisition will make a difference for the people of Thedas. Cullen is one of those characters where you either love him or hate him. Many people I've noticed in forums are asking, what is the deal with Cullen? Why is there such a following? Why does this guy have such a following? Because a lot of people were pretty turned off by him, especially with how he was in Dragon Age Origins, more specifically the Broken Circle, part of the Dragon Age origin story, because he does grow a little mad, and he does suddenly have this bit of a prejudice, this vendetta against mages, and almost as some people argue, to the point of insanity. So I guess the best way I can describe the appeal of Cullen, I mean, I will admit, yes, his eye candiness is a factor. I would be lying if I said that it wasn't. But it's more than that. Cullen is a pretty complex character, like all the other characters. But, I mean, you see his journey. You see his journey throughout all three of the games, or you will see his journey all throughout all three of the games, because you start out with Origins, and yes, the Broken Circle of Magi sort of seen him at his worst, arguably. My first introduction to Cullen was when I rolled my very first Dragon Age Origins character, which was a female mage. And it's specific to female mages that you end up getting some extra content with Cullen, because he's portrayed as this shy Templar. He's supposed to be like the one that's keeping you in line, keeping you in check, but he secretly has this forbidden love crush on your female mage, which for someone like me at least, I just found so adorable and so endearing. And, you know, yeah, the fact that he was easy on the eyes, in my opinion, helped. But more so than that, just the whole situation of, you know, that whole forbidden love again situation that isn't creepy in an Edward Cullen Bella kind of way. You know, there was just something about that that I found endearing. And which is why being introduced to Cullen in that way, it made the scenes with the Broken Circle, for me, my reaction to it, I think, was a lot different than with someone who might have met Cullen for the first time in that way if they didn't pick a mage story, or even if you did pick the mage origin story but were male. It was a little bit different because I saw where he came from. I saw where he was. And then because of this very traumatic experience with demons and being forced to listen to some of his comrades get tortured, you know, it scarred him in a way, and it was just very tragic knowing that he's not a bad guy. Like, he tries to do the right thing, and the only reason why he ends up having the mentality that he does in Origins is because he just doesn't want other people to get hurt. It's not because he wants to kill off all the mages, it's just, he doesn't want there to be any more turmoil in general. And again, you believe that because, as someone like me who was a female mage, you know that he doesn't outright hate mages. And then you meet him again in Dragon Age 2, and you kind of, like, you kind of learn how far he's come since what's happened in Origins, because he's not like bloodthirsty mad against mages, and you might be led to believe that because of how you first are introduced to him in Dragon Age 2, where he's questioning this mage who then transforms into an abomination and then outright attacks you and your Inquisitor. So, and then again, as the story progresses, as the acts progress, the more you talk to Cullen, he's one of the few Templars who, while he is second in command to Meredith, he questions Meredith. He questions Meredith's methods. Like, he doesn't end up following her blindly. And then at the very end of Act 3 in Dragon Age 2, when he outright stands up to Meredith and says, no, this is not right. I know you outrank me. And Meredith is a pretty intimidating individual. Again, we're talking about very powerful female characters. So the fact that Cullen was essentially calling mutiny, like defying his superior, saying, no, this isn't right, stand down, Knight Commander. That's when Cullen completely won me over again, because, he was willing to listen to reason. And so, again, just seeing that from the way he was back in Origins after the Broken Circle arc, it was just really cool to see how much his character has evolved and developed over time. And now we're going into Dragon Age Inquisition, and more time has passed, and I'm just really excited to see just how far Cullen has come, and how far he will continue going as the story progresses. All of you know how much I adore Cullen and how much I have been wanting to romance him, and they did announce that he is going to be a straight romance. And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't really holding my breath that he would be bisexual. I am perfectly fine rolling a female Inquisitor after my Let's Play playthrough, specifically to romance the snot out of Cullen, because of how much I absolutely adore the guy. Just to give an update, not only was Cullen announced to be a straight romance only for a female Inquisitor, he is also only available to female Elven or human Inquisitors. While I see this being a lot more realistic, because I guess people have their preferences, not only to gender preferences, but also to there's other factors that play into, I guess, to who you would end up being attracted to. So I think that I haven't really thought about how I feel about it, because on one hand it is more realistic. I feel very bad for all of the Qunari and Dwarven Inquisitors out there who wanted to have some Cullen lovin', female ones who wanted to have some Cullen lovin', only to realize that it's just not meant to be. Because the interesting thing is, the programmers I think they could have made him romanceable to anyone, because not all of the romances are gated in that way.
the Iron Bull, for example, was going to be race-gated, not because they, on a whim, decided he was only going to be romanceable with certain races, but it was more of a mechanics question. It was more of a technical... There were technical challenges that prevented his model, as I said, his character model, to be able to program all of the different permutations of different types of characters that he can romance. So from a technical aspect, I'm sure they could have made Cullen romanceable to anyone. So the question then becomes, why didn't they just let any female Inquisitor be able to romance him? And I think a lot of it, they claim that a lot of it has to do with story. So there might be something more story-based, or again, they just want to give Cullen a, I guess, pickier preference than, say, the Iron Bull or Cassandra or some of the other romances that are race-gated. I'm curious how the rest of you guys feel about that, especially the ladies and men out there who were excited about romancing Cullen. How you feel about the race-gateness? Like, is it... Like, I don't think that anyone is necessarily trying to pull the race card on this. I don't think it's that. I think it's just... I don't know. I'm still wrapping my head around that. I mean, needless to say, when I create an Inquisitor specifically to romance Cullen, it's going to be a female elven mage just for him. Because my first warden that I ever made in Dragon Age Origins was a female elven mage, and therefore that was the person or the type of person that Cullen ended up having a crush on. So I figured it would be fitting, and we would come full circle if I made another female elven mage just for Cullen this time.
He seems to be a hopeless romantically type, and I hope that with his romance you start to see remnants, pockets of his crush, the way that he was crushing over your female mage in Origins, because I think that seeing him in that vulnerable of a state, I would find incredibly adorable and incredibly endearing, and it would be really cool to see his journey in a romantic level, in terms of going from crushing on a mage, hating mages, thinking, alright, maybe not all mages are horrible, and then finally ending up with being in a relationship with a mage, with a female mage. So yeah, I'm definitely planning, when I do a Let's Play to romance Cullen, I'm definitely making a female mage. Not sure what race, but I feel like the guy finally deserves the female mage romance that he's always wanted deep in his heart, even though he may not want to admit to it. And I don't know, I just foresee a lot of going into the relationship. I foresee him having doubts, not necessarily doubts of the relationship, but doubts of whether or not he can trust himself. Has nothing to do with the female mage at all. It's just he can trust himself to be worthy and to treat this person well, knowing what his past feelings of mages are and his past prejudices of mages were. So that's what I'm very excited about with Cullen in a romantic level. As for my male Inquisitor in my gay Let's Play, just like Angelus, my warden, was total, like, had a total major bromance with Alistair, I'm hoping that I can have a same kind of bromance, or have a bromance to some degree, with Cullen. Like, I'd like to think that my Inquisitor and him will become, you know, really close buddies and friends. We'll see. I know that Cullen and Alistair, personality-wise, are two different people completely, but we'll see. At least I'd like to see how close my male Inquisitor can become with Cullen. I mean, that's the big thing that I hope BioWare takes in consideration, because a lot of people voice this both in the Dragon Age and the Mass Effect series, is that even if I don't romance someone, it'd be really cool to still make sure that the friendship arc is just as fulfilling. You know, if you want to have a bromance with a character, it'd be great if there was the capability to do that. And I hope that people who are specifically only interested in one specific gender, like Cassandra and Cullen and Cassandra and Cullen and Sarah and Dorian. I'm hoping that if you are not of the gender that they're attracted to, that you can still develop a close friendship with them. And I'm saying those specifically because you might be interested in romancing them as a specific gender, but you can't. So I'm hoping that BioWare takes that in consideration and say, all right, all of you ladies out there, I know many of you are disappointed that you can't romance Dorian, or you guys out there, I know you're disappointed you can't romance Sarah, but we can still give you a very, we can still try our best to give you as fulfilling of a friendship with them as possible. And I hope I can do the same thing with Cassandra and with Cullen, and whoever ends up being a romance that is only for specific genders. And also for characters that are for very specific races. I mean, yeah, I mean, in general, yes, we want to have fulfilling friendships, a fulfilling friendship arc for all the characters. But I think even more so, people would appreciate it for the ones that are romanceable, but only romanceable for certain types of Inquisitors, because that might mitigate some of the disappointment that, I can't romance that specific character, but I could if I was a gay Inquisitor, I could if I was a straight Inquisitor. The writer for Cullen is Brianne Beatty, I think is how you pronounce her name. One of the things that she says that in previous games, Cullen was a Templar, but why did he become a Templar in the first place? And who was he before that? Who is he beyond that? These are questions that she had to consider, and as a player, we can explore these ideas with him. And I love that because, again, as a big Cullen fan, I want to learn more about him. I want to learn about him more beyond just Cullen the Templar. I want to know him as a person, where his history is, where he's, who he is beyond the class that he happens to be. And hopefully you can still do that even if you are not romancing him. Cullen is going to be an advisor. He is going to be taking care of the military aspect of the Inquisition, and I think that's very fitting for him. He has that amazing lion's helmet. It's awesome. And between you and me, I think it's really hot on him. But I'm wondering if for the advisors, if there's going to be some scenes or some moments in the game where they will fight alongside you. And I think BioWare was implying that there are parts of the game where the advisors do join in the fighting. You might not be able to control them, but you might still see them in action, fighting alongside with you. That'd be really cool to watch Cullen in action from afar. Overall, I think one of the most appealing things to me about Cullen is that of all of the Dragon Age Inquisition followers/advisors, with the exception of Liliana, Cullen has appeared in all three, or is appearing in all three of the Dragon Age games. As a relatively important character of the Dragon Age games, and increasing in importance as the games continue on. And so, again, he has history. You've seen his history throughout Dragon Age 1 and 2, and it's just really cool to be able to continue on experiencing his character's history in Dragon Age Inquisition. So thank you very much for humoring me with my gush fest that is Cullen in this character analysis. Tune in next time, everybody, and until then, love yourselves, love each other.